When you saw this title, you probably thought, is this too good to be true? According to mountains of research, fast muscle growth is completely possible. But can you do it sustainably and without injuries? By the end of this video, I'll have gone over the 3 steps to prevent injuries while still growing your muscles as fast as you possibly can. The first step that I want to speak about is often missed when it comes to fast muscle growth. A common misconception about fast muscle growth is that you need to train harder and more often. But what if I told you the secret actually lies in the foods that you eat? Without the right foods and even the help of some supplementation, you will probably start to limit your muscle growth. The process of muscle growth is actually best completed through lifting weights or any sort of resistance training. But what actually happens when you lift weights and resistance train is you break the muscles down and then they grow back. But the only way for them to grow back as fast as they possibly can is if we're putting the right fuel in the tank. So the most important foods for you to have when you're attempting to gain muscle as fast as you can are foods that are high in protein. A high protein diet has undeniably been proven by so much research. It is the biggest nutritional variable in ensuring we have proper muscle recovery and proper muscle growth or hypertrophy. The golden number for you to target is 1 gram per pound of your goal body weight. That means if you're trying to be 200 pounds, eat 200 grams of protein per day. The reason that I don't say 1 gram per pound of your current body weight is because you want to start eating in a way with where you're trying to get to. And chances are, if you're on this channel, you might be a guy that's also trying to lose weight while gaining this muscle. And if you're 250 pounds trying to get down to 200 pounds, you don't need to be eating 250 grams of protein. You could, and it wouldn't necessarily hurt you, but it's just more than you need. So I always recommend to stick to 1 gram per pound of your goal body weight. Now, when it comes to supplementation, the 2 most important supplements in my mind for muscle growth are going to be 1, any sort of protein powder. If you're somebody that struggles with hitting your protein goal, which a lot of people do, it's a great tool for you to use in your diet. Real quick, if you are enjoying this video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so it can be pushed to other people like you that are trying to increase the rate at which they are gaining muscle. The second supplement that is an absolute no-brainer in my opinion when it comes to muscle growth is creatine monohydrate. And creatine has hilariously been memed into somewhat of a steroid or TRT or growth hormone or peptide in the health and fitness community, but it's definitely not that. It's one of the most reviewed supplements and safest supplements in the world. And it is very, very effective in helping with muscle growth. And this can mostly be attributed to the fact that it helps with ATP production, which means while you're lifting weights or resistance training, it's gonna allow you to get a few extra reps. And while that might not make a difference for you in the short term, today or tomorrow, next week, or even next month, you add in those extra reps for years and years and years, you'll have done a lot more progressive overload and pushed those muscles a lot further than you would have if you otherwise were not taking creatine all those years. So I recommend that you get on that and you start that sooner rather than later. And the ideal dosage for creatine for most people is going to be anywhere from 5 grams to 10 grams per day. Now, that all being said, eating the right foods and having proper supplementation is only one step in growing muscles fast while also not injuring yourself. So in order for step 1 and this entire process to be as effective as possible, I'm going to give you 5 main exercises for muscle growth. Now, I've chosen these 5 exercises as the main ones for you to do because they're very compound movements, meaning they use multiple joints and a lot of the large muscle groups in your body. So these are the exercises that you're really going to get the most bang for your buck for. When I break them down, it's important for you to realize that they are not just nailed to this one specific form. There's going to be variations of each of them that you can do that will also be very effective. It's important for you to go out and research yourself what some of these different variations are, because depending on where you train and what equipment you have access to, you may or may not be able to do the exact variations that I'm showing you in this video. If you are a Christian entrepreneur that is looking to lose 10 to 30 pounds and make sure that you actually keep it off for good, my team and I will work with you one-on-one using our default actions framework to help you do just that. And if it doesn't work, we'll refund you in full, no questions asked. All you have to do to learn more about this is just go to defaultkings.com and book a free fat loss assessment with one of the fat loss experts on my team. Thanks. Hope you enjoy the rest of the video. All right. In this video, you're going to see me using dumbbells. I'm going to be on a bench that is slightly inclined. You can do this at any degree of incline that you want. I don't personally have a preference for this specific movement. It is a bit of comfort, and then also what area of the chest you really want to target. If you go closer to flat, you're going to do more mid and low chest. The higher up you go on the incline, the more you're going to hit the upper chest. I know for me personally, I typically have a tendency to neglect the upper chest a bit, so I like to do this incline variation of this movement. So again, you see me using dumbbells here. Big keys are bringing this thing down all the way into the hole. So I'm going to go back and pause here. Boom. So I'm coming all the way deep down into what's called the hole, and I'm making sure that I am driving out of there, and my elbows are pulled in just a little bit. That way I'm really working my chest, not just impinging my shoulders and pressing with my shoulders and my triceps. I bring my elbows in a little bit. You do not want your elbows flared out on any sort of variation here. You want to bring them in tight, and that way you're actually pushing with your chest, and eventually your triceps take over to finish out the movement. So this is a very, very popular movement. This is, of course, the bench press with dumbbells. And again, any variation of the bench is going to be a great movement to get the bang for your buck on chest, triceps, and shoulders. All of the push movements, you're going to hit all of them pretty extremely. And you can do a bunch of different variations to hit one aspect of shoulders, chest, and triceps, maybe more than the others. But this is your bread and butter movement for fast muscle growth. For the next movement, you are going to again want a barbell, and it's going to be on the floor, and you're going to want to position this barbell right in the middle of your feet. When you're looking down, it should cut your feet right in half, and you're going to want to be about hip width apart with your feet. So not shoulder width, but hip width apart. A little bit of a narrower stance here compared to the squat in the first exercise. And you are going to then simply reach down and place your hands right outside of hip width. Okay, so your hands are going to come straight down from your shoulders. They're going to be about shoulder width apart outside of the hips. And you can do one hand overhand, one hand underhand. And you need to do a big brace here and go ahead and pull. Right, so again, going back just a little bit right before that leaves the floor, you brace hard and you sit back and you are pulling with your hamstrings and your butt, and you have a strong brace in your core and your back, and your hamstrings and your butt are what are doing the work here. So this movement is going to give you a massive bang for your buck on your hamstrings and your glutes, your erectors, and then also your upper back is doing a ton of stabilization here as well as your core. So this is an RDL, a Romanian deadlift. Okay. And there is a million different variations of this that are also going to make sure that you get a ton of use out of your hamstrings, your glutes, your erectors, your upper back, and your core. So any variation of this is going to be a great muscle growth movement. All right. So for this movement, what we're going to be using is this squat rack, and we're going to be in here with a barbell. Now, in terms of where you want this to be placed, you're going to want it to be between nipple height and shoulder height. Somewhere right there in between is about the perfect sweet spot in terms of where you want this bar. And when it comes to hand placement, you're going to want them right outside of shoulder width. Now, you'll see here I'm using a belt. You definitely don't need one. And quite frankly, I don't recommend you having one until you're doing a substantial amount of weight like I am in this video. Now, when it comes to preparation, you're going to want to take a big, deep breath and get under that bar and plant your feet. Notice here I'm rooting my feet and I'm sticking my head out straight in front of me. You don't want to be looking down at the floor. You don't want to be looking up at the ceiling. My eyes are fixed on the wall directly in front of me. So I have a strong chest. I brace my core hard, unrack 2 to 3 steps back. And again, I root my feet, point my toes slightly out and my knees slightly out as well. And I'm bracing my core hard. I took that big, deep breath
and I squat down in the hole, right? Now, in terms of depth, you just need to get to the point where your knees are right at about 90 degrees or as deep as you can go without pain. So if you're a guy that can only go to above that 90 degrees and you start to have a little bit of pain, that's okay. Just go as deep as you can without pain. And you see me get out of that hole. Awesome. So that is, of course, your barbell back squat. Now, there's a bunch of different variations of squats that you can do, but the main first movement is just a squat. You're going to get the best bang for your buck in building your quads, your hamstrings, and your glutes with these squat variations.
Those are the 5 exercises that you need to be doing to start seeing fast muscle growth. Now, for the last step in this video, if it goes incomplete, step 1 and step 2 are going to be a whole lot less effective, and the rate at which you gain muscle is going to be more close to the normal rate of muscle growth for most people. Let me explain. Muscle growth happens during rest, not during the workouts. Like I mentioned earlier, the purpose of resistance training and the exercises is to break the muscles down. And the point of eating the proper foods, like in step 1, is to help build these muscles back. That build back is occurring during phases of rest. So quite literally on days where we aren't working those specific muscles that we're trying to grow, and also through the night when we're sleeping. When it comes to sleep specifically, this is going to be one of the most effective periods of time throughout the day that your body can undergo muscle protein synthesis because you're completely at rest. So if you're somebody that's only sleeping for 3, 4, 5 hours a night, you're giving your body a lot less time to properly recover and rebuild those muscles. The number that I recommend is pretty traditional. I think somewhere in that 7 to 8 hours range is about right. And to be honest, you're going to be able to find a lot of research that suggests even more than that if you want to optimize for muscle growth and recovery. But anecdotally, I've seen 7 to 8 hours work just about fine for anybody. When it comes to rest days per week that you're going to need, or time between working specific muscle groups, that's really going to come down to what your actual training split looks like. Some of the more popular ones are push, pull, legs, chest and triceps, back and biceps, legs, and then shoulders. Really, it doesn't necessarily matter. Again, you can always find research to support which split is best, but when it comes to a rest and recovery perspective, all that matters is that you're putting 48 to 72 hours between intensely working those specific muscle groups again. For example, if you trained legs on Monday, you would want to wait till bare minimum Wednesday or Thursday to train your legs again. Now, does that mean you can't walk around on Tuesday? No, of course you can still use your legs, but you don't want to replicate the variations like I showed you in this video, or any sort of intense resistance training on the predominant leg muscles that you hit. You're not going to want to do that again until at least that 48 to 72 hour window passed. Having proper sleep and adequate time for recovery between those training sessions is going to round out the loop that optimizes muscle growth and recovery. Giving your body time to recover is going to set the stage for stronger and more effective muscle growth. Now, with these 3 steps, you're going to be able to rapidly accelerate your muscle growth without injuries and actually sustain that rate of muscle growth for quite a long time. Now, I mentioned earlier how important nutrition is, but I didn't mention something pretty important, which is cheat days. Check out this video here somewhere on your screen to see if cheat meals are worth it and how you can actually implement multiple of them per week into your meal planning.